Hey guys! That's actually what it says in my script. I capitalized the H-E but not the Y for some reason. It looks stupid. Anyway, welcome to my second Photoshop tutorial. My camera is dead, so I'm recording with only my mic right now, so you can probably just sit back and enjoy whatever I put on in the background. It's probably just me making coffee or something. Really exciting. Anyway, thanks for the support with my previous episode. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to make more for you guys. A few of you wanted me to teach you how I animate with Photoshop, but I still want to teach you some of the bells and whistles of the program before moving on into anything too advanced. So what we're going to do today is set up everything that we'll need for the next episode where we'll start animating. So buckle up for some pre-production fun and let's get started. So before you can start making Ghiblies and Pixars, you need to know the very basics of animation. Animation is just a bunch of still images being presented to you at a very fast rate. The average frame rate of an animation is 24 frames per second. You can increase the frame rate above 24 frames per second, which makes it look a little bit more smooth, but if you go any lower, it's going to look clunky and unnatural. So today we'll be creating a simple animation of a planet, a moon, and a meteor, but in order to do that, we need a planet, a moon, and a meteor. So open up Photoshop and create a new canvas set to 1280 by 720, and again, might as well kick up the DPI to 300. Alright, so now that we have our blank canvas, go down to the color selection tool and click on the small black and white icon below it. This resets our primary color back to black and our secondary color back to white. Now click on the secondary color option and change it from white to a deep gray. Now type X on your keyboard. This swaps the positions of your primary and secondary colors. Now over on the toolbar, click on the gradient tool besides the paint bucket tool. If you have a more advanced version of Photoshop, the gradient tool is actually bundled with the paint bucket tool. To select it, just click and hold the paint bucket tool and wait for it to pop up beside it. You can tell if tools are bundled together if there's a tiny icon in the bottom of the corner that looks like an arrow pointing downwards. Anyway, this doesn't apply to us Elements users though, obviously. Now you might be asking yourself, what does the gradient tool do? And, well, so would I if I didn't know, so good job for being curious. Gold star. The gradient tool is used to blend two colors together. The smoothness of the blend varies by how far you drag your mouse away from your starting point. Up at the top, select the second gradient option, which will allow us to fade from the center of our selection outwards in a smooth circular fashion. This will act as our black space background. Now we need to add stars, so create a new blank layer and rename it Stars. In the toolbar, select the paintbrush tool and change your primary color to white. Now dot the layer to your liking with a random star pattern. You can change the size of your brush by using the brackets on your keyboard. As you can see, mine looks a bit crappy because I suck at making star things. So now we have our stars, but they currently aren't glowing, which is pretty weird looking if you ask me. So at the top, next to Enhance, click on Layer and click on the drop-down option Layer Styles, and cruise on over to Style Settings. Now we have a window that allows us to play with an assortment of things, but we can play around with these later in another tutorial. What we want is the glow option to be applied. So click on Glow, select Outer, and then adjust the size to 10, but leave the opacity at 75%. Now we have glowy stars! Now we need to make a planet, so in the toolbar, go to the Marquee tool. This allows us to make selections, but we don't want a square or rectangular planet, those are stupid. We want a round one, and we won't settle for anything less. So click and hold the Marquee tool option until two more options appear to its right. Click on the Elliptical Marquee tool. Now create a new layer and name it Melvin. That's the name of our planet, and you'll love it. Other than the atmosphere, you can't breathe it. It's all sorts of poisonous. Seriously, Melvin will kill you. Hold Shift on your keyboard and use your mouse to drag around selection. Holding Shift ensures that you have a perfectly symmetrical selection. Now select on the primary option and click a color that you like, and in the secondary color option, pick a slightly darker shade of your previous color. You can grab your previous color by clicking on it in the primary color tab, then to darken it, just drag your dot down in the color palette. Now select the gradient tool, and from the center of your selection, drag your mouse from the border of the circle and release. Now you have a subtly shaded planet, but we want to make it look a bit more obvious. Duplicate your Melvin and type Ctrl-Command-U and drag the darkness all the way to the left. Confirm this and once again click on the elliptical marquee tool but increase its feather to 30. Now doing what you did before, create a smaller selection than your previous and using your arrow keys center it inside of the planet. Now hit backspace on your keyboard. Now what we have is a dark fading shadow on the planet, but decrease its opacity down to about 33 so it looks a little bit less dramatic. So now what we are going to do is merge this down to the planet layer, so click on your Melvin layer and shift click the shadow layer above it. You're now selecting both layers at the same time. Way to go, you go-getter, you! Now to merge them together, type the button combination of Ctrl or Command-E. You'll have to rename it Melvin again though. So now we have our stars and our planet, but now we need a moon. This will be very easy to do since we already have a base planet we can use. Duplicate the Melvin layer and type Ctrl or Command-U and drain it of its saturation so it looks more gray and moon-like. Now type the button combination of Ctrl or Command-T to enable the transformation. Drag the top leftmost corner down to decrease its size. You may need to hold Shift to maintain its perfect roundness though, by the way. Now rename this layer Moon, and in the toolbar, select the bottommost tool and hold it until 3 tools pop out to its right. What we want to do is select the hand-looking tool called Burn. This tool will allow us to shade some of the craters by burning areas on the tool to make them darker. So once you've dotted your moon and craters, hold the tool again and select the lollipop thing. I mean, I think it's a lollipop. What else would it be? Whatever it is, though, it's called the dodge tool, and it does the exact opposite of the burn tool. It lightens areas to provide more realistic shading to accompany your burns. Now decrease the size of the tool using the left bracket and click inside each of the burn spots 1 to 2 times. Now we have a nice and slightly detailed moon. Now all we need is an asteroid, or a meteor. I forget what they're called, and to be honest, I don't care. Seriously. Potato, tomato, am I right? Now create a new layer and name it meteor, and select a brownish color on the primary slot. Using your brush tool set at 30 pixels, click once anywhere in this new layer to create a small brown poo dot. Now in the toolbar, click and hold the lasso tool, and click on the polygonal lasso tool. This will allow us to make polygonal selections to the shape of our choosing. We want to fashion a tail on our meteor, so using the polygonal lasso tool, add a small triangle selection to the base of our dot and fill it in with a bluish color. Now we need to make it look speedy and quick, because that's just how meteors are, Kevin. So at the top, select filter, and then drop down to blur. Select the motion blur. Eyeball the angle of the meteor's tail and increase the blur to around 27 or so, and hit OK to confirm. Now we have a speedy meteor. Alright, so now we have everything composed for the animation that will start in the next episode, but before we can be done, we need to save our adventure so we don't lose our progress. So create a new folder on your desktop called Melvin and the Moon, then save each layer as an individual .png file by shutting off each layer except for the one that you're saving, and give each file its respective name based off the name of the layer. I'm glad I've finally finished this episode. I apologize it took longer than I would have liked, but things have been crazier than jam on wheat thins lately. I would also like to inform you that I now own the entire Adobe Creative Suite on my MacBook, but I'm going to stick with the basic programs for now until we learn more advanced techniques. Next time we'll learn about keyframing in Adobe Premiere Elements to create an animated clip. However, until then, keep breathing.
Don't make me use my muscles, because I'll use them.